Listen up, First Take fans. Molly Max and your boy are hitting the road again.
Join us from the home of the defending national champion Clemson Tigers.
I like Stephen A. He's kind of a funny guy.
We'll be live at Bowman Field on Friday, October 11th, before the Tigers face the rival Seminoles.
What they've accomplished, it is nothing short of remarkable.
The party starts at 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll have plenty of special guests and giveaways.
So don't miss any of the fun in Death Valley. 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. Plus a special half-hour show at noon on the ACC Network. See you there.
Looking forward to that. I think we're going to have a good crowd. Same with this Saturday, a big one in the Big Ten. Number 10 Penn State taking on number 17 Iowa in Iowa City. The Nittany Lions have won the last 5 against the Hawkeyes dating back to 2011, 7:30 Eastern on ABC and the app. So, after the Browns were embarrassed by the Niners on Monday Night Football in a 31-3 beatdown, and Baker Mayfield threw 3 interceptions and was sacked 4 times, their head coach, Freddie Kitchens, had this to say in defense of his squad.
We're not panicking. All right, we're going to line up and play the next game. All right, there's 11 more.
On that note, we bring in our guy, Marcus Spears. Marcus, how we doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing better than Freddie Kitchens.
Yeah, that's the truth. Stephen A., I'll start with you. Do you think it's time for Browns fans to panic?
I think so. I think that you have the face of your franchise who happens to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft a couple of years ago, who hasn't looked anything as expected and as advertised. His QBR, I mean, I think he's completing like 25% of his passes in the red zone. His QBR is around 29.8. He's thrown 22 interceptions in 18 starts. The team is 2-3. They're under 500. They haven't met expectations. You've got to come up with, trickery and schemes in order to get Odell Beckham Jr. the football, and he's throwing the football. He's got a better QBR than your quarterback. And on top of it all, you've got a quarterback that is in one constant situation after another, making headlines for anything but actually playing and winning football games. And so when you look at it from that perspective, I think the kind of thing that it highlights is the fact that all of a sudden you're remembering you've got a first-year head coach. You're remembering with all of this talent that you have, your quarterback is a second-year dude. Your head coach is a rookie who, by the way, somehow, some way, with all of these coaches out there working their tails off for decades, starving for an opportunity, because somehow, some way you managed to ingratiate yourself with the number 1 overall pick for that franchise. You go from a quarterback's coach to an offensive coordinator to a head coach in a year. And when you look at it from that perspective and you start struggling the way that they've been struggling, ultimately that fan base is going to rain down upon you, because the mentality is going to be, wait a minute, maybe we looked at this all wrong. We were so excited about the talent and so excited about the fact that we weren't going to be seen as perpetual football purgatory. Now here we are in a situation where we're being reminded we got a second-year quarterback and a rookie head coach, and whose bright idea it was to put that together. These are the kind of things that they now find themselves in because of what we've witnessed for a vast majority of the first 5 games of this NFL season.
Not time to panic yet. I understand why you would say that, but not time to panic yet, and I'll tell you why. It's easy for us to float a narrative, as is popular to say nowadays. No one can say story anymore. We have to call it a narrative, no story. But the story has been that Kitchens is a first-year head coach, and I've even peddled this, right? Look, just because you can coach up the offense, which he did when he was the offensive coordinator last year with Baker Mayfield, that's different than running a whole team. And you know what? That story that we're telling may, in fact, be true. But just pause for a second, or at least let's put the brakes on a little bit here and slow it down. We knew going into the season a couple of things, and I was talking about this even before the season. The schedule in the middle, like early middle schedule, was going to be very, very tough. It's not just that they looked bad. It's not just that they're 2-3. It's that here come the Seahawks and the Patriots. And then even when they get a softer team, they got to go at Denver. Like at Broncos is always a tough place to play because of altitude and all this kind of stuff. So, or not this kind of stuff, because of that. So we knew it could be rough going early, putting a new team together, rookie head coach, the whole thing. Plus, The trade for Odell included trading their star pass-blocking guard, Zeitler. How are they going to replace him? And what did I say, Stephen A., early on? They might get off to a slow start, 3-4, maybe even 2-5. I could see it as the new offensive line pieces start to play together. That usually takes a minute. As when you throw a whole bunch of new pieces together, new head coach, and you have a rough schedule, that takes a minute. But let me tell you the good news here. Let me tell you the last 7 games of their season. You tell me the real tough one here. Steelers, Dolphins, at Steelers, Bengals, at Cardinals, Ravens, who they've already beaten at Baltimore, at Bengals. Guys, they can go. I expected them this season to go on a tear in the second half. You're right, guys, if you're going to say, look, they need to get 1 win in their next 3 games at least. They can't lose, of course. They got to get a win in the next 3 games. 2 would be preferable, obviously. But they could go on a tear. By the way, they got the Bills after the Broncos, too. So let's say in the next 4 weeks they need 2 wins. They could make the playoffs. They could make the playoffs in the AFC North if they're 3-4 or something like that after 7 weeks.
Max, you watching football? Are you watching them play?
Oh, yeah.
It's time to panic. And the reason it's time to panic has nothing to do with the schedule. Every problem we thought Cleveland would have has come to fold, right? Look, I'm gonna give you 3 examples. All right. Number 1, the first-year head coach, he's having a hell of a time trying to call the right plays from week in to week out. We praised him for the Baltimore game, but honestly, that was just hand the ball off to Nick Chubb, explosive plays, and they did things. So if you give Freddie Kitchens credit for that, obviously he deserves it because it's in the win. But when you look at this team, beyond who they're going to play, they have no identity. They don't even know if this guy, their franchise guy that they've talked about since last year when he ripped off 7 games, by the way, with a schedule like you just mentioned down the stretch last year, what made everybody so hyped, only 6 of those 7 wins, all of those teams had losing records. It has nothing to do with who they're playing. They have no answers from week to week throughout the NFL season about who they are as a team. Might I say, Odell Beckham has 4 catches in the last 2 weeks. He's the highest paid player on your roster. He was brought over to make this offense prolific and give Baker Mayfield another weapon. You look at Jarvis Landry. You look at the investments that they made on the defensive side of the football. Dude, this is not – everybody talked about, and I don't know what side you on, Max, with the Browns being a playoff team and they're going to be good. Look, if it is a bright spot, they benefit off of their division and how bad the other teams are for the unfortunate things that have taken place. But with that being said, I don't know why you wouldn't panic, and I know that's what a coach is supposed to say. We're not panicking, but you damn well better believe that within that building, they have a lot of issues that they're trying to adjust, and they're uneasy about it.
Okay, let's say they do. Like, as I said, that story may be true. I've told that same story about Kitchens and the way the team looks, and everyone said the thing about identity, what's their at least offensive identity? At least that, right? They gave the ball to Nick Chubb. Was that going to be it? Are they going to run it a whole bunch? Of the last 7 games of the season, do you, like, I see they should be favored in every single one of those last 7 games, except for maybe the Ravens, and even then they're at home, unless their season falls apart. They should be favored in every one of those games. And by the way, real quick, that coincides with them getting Kareem Hunt for the last 8 games of the season.
Well, first of all, I disagree with you about the Kareem Hunt element because, again, whether it's as nasty as Kareem Hunt is as a player, because he's something special, it wasn't like Nick Chubb was some scrub. Not only that, I think the part that you're missing, Max, is that that's an additional body to appease on a football field, which Freddie Kitchens is already struggling with the roster that he has, which is why I agree with Marcus. But then there's the other thing, Max, that I will ask you a question. This is a simple question. Did you think that they would get shellacked by the San Francisco 49ers the way that they did on Monday night?
I didn't, but I want to say something. I want to say something about that, too.
I know. I'm going to come to you. The only reason I'm asking that question is this. When you look at this schedule, we know that they have the talent, per se, individually, to compete with almost anybody in the National Football League. The reason why it's time to hit panic is because their issue is not talent. Their issue is discipline. Their issue is structure. Their issue is an identity. Their issue is all of those ancillary things that contribute to either bringing a team together or pulling you apart.
Stephen, they don't know. They don't know if they have the talent. I'm telling you right now that within that building, when you go week in and week out, they're asking themselves, this is a real legitimate question, and this is not for me to pile on Baker Mayfield. But you are at a point this year where you asking yourself, is this guy good enough to take us over the top? You have to ask that question based off what we've watched so far. We've surrounded him with arguably the best per talent that you can in the league, and we can't figure it out. I'm sorry, Max, but I had to say that. They don't know that.
I understand. Baker last year, second half of the season, was one of the best quarterbacks in football. And throughout college, he was a cut above everybody else. Those things actually happened. You say we don't know if they have the talent at quarterback. Fair to ask whether or not he's elite. Let's keep in mind, the Niners right now, according to a lot of the metrics, for what that's worth, guys, are the #1 team in football. I don't agree with that. But they are undefeated, and they're considered the best team in football. And Baker Mayfield did throw a touchdown pass to make it 14-10 that was handed to the Niners, who then scored. That's a huge swing in the game. I'm not saying they would have won the game, but that score was deceptive. The worst part about the game is when they fell down big, they didn't have the kind of fight in them you'd like to see. That, I agree, is troubling, and that probably points to the head coach, which is why I say that story may be true. But let's not hit panic yet.
Okay, you might want to panic when they face the Seahawks and the Patriots. Baker posted a 4.2 QBR. That was on Monday Night Football. Still to come, after a tumultuous offseason, the Raiders are above 500. We'll have one of their defensive stars on the